Consult your sewing advisor for recommended settings. You may wish to use the optional blind hem foot to guide you when stitching. This foot has an adjustable flange for guiding your fabric edge, eliminating the possibility of cutting the fabric. A rolled edge uses the right needle plus a narrow stitch finger to create a narrow satin roll on the edge of soft fabrics such as a crepe de chine, georgette, silk, and lightweight materials. Your Husqvarna Huskylock has a built-in rolled edge feature for quick and easy setup. No fumbling with changing feet or throat plates. First, switch your Huskylock to full sewing speed. Huskylock 910 owners select 3-thread rolled edge on your sewing advisor. Letter E. Scroll through your fabric types and select Woven Light or number 3. Your sewing advisor window will read Auto E3. Stepping through the recommended settings, set your stitch length to 1.0. Differential feed at 0.8. A rolled edge is very dense, and therefore the stitching may pucker your lightweight fabric. Stitch finger R. The stitch finger lever is located at the front of the throat plate. Simply pull the stitch finger lever toward you to remove the wide stitch finger and expose the small stitch finger. This smaller pin rolls the stitches to the underside of your fabric. Use only the right or D needle. Stitch or cutting width is 6.0. And tension settings of N for right needle, N for upper looper, and 7 for lower looper. Place your woven lightweight fabric under the presser foot and serge along one edge. Your tightened lower looper actually pulls your upper looper thread around the narrow stitch finger, causing the edge of the fabric and stitches to roll. Decorative threads like silky rayons, metallics, pearl cottons, or woolly nylons used here create a nice edge on napkins, hems, or even pin tucks on a blouse. Very versatile Husqvarna Huskylock models 905 and 910 add even more practicality and creative options with 2-thread overlock capabilities. To prepare for serging a 2-thread rolled edge, use your sewing advisor and select 2-thread rolled edge using the Stitch Selection button, letter J. The 2-thread rolled edge is a perfect delicate accent for fine or light fabrics. Touch the Fabric Selection button to Woven Light Material, number 3. Your sewing advisor will read Auto J3. Setting up, check your stitch length. It should now be set at 0.8. Differential feed at 0.8. Stitch finger should be at R from the last technique. The sewing advisor recommends using the right or D needle. Stitch or cutting width at N or normal. Tension should be set at 3 for right needle and N for lower looper. You'll notice only the needle and lower looper are used for 2-thread serging. Unthread the upper looper thread from the tension disc. In your accessory box is a 2-thread converter. The converter has a small prong which fits into the eye of the upper looper. The prong tricks the lower looper into believing the upper looper is threaded. Open the front cover of your Husqvarna Huskylock. Move the upper looper to its highest position by turning the hand wheel toward you. Hold the converter so the long tab faces left. Slide the converter down onto the wide part of the upper looper. Now adjust the long tab so the prong fits or snaps into the upper looper eye. Close the front cover. Serge along the edge of a piece of woven lightweight fabric. Use the 2-thread rolled edge for lightweight fabrics when you want the lightest possible edge. It's perfect for silky scarves and pin tucks. Pin tucks are sewn along the edge of folded fabric and are a delicate touch for blouses, lingerie, and even children's clothing. You can use the right needle for narrow pin tucks or the left needle for wide pin tucks. Mark and press the pin tucks before sewing. Place the fabric under the presser foot with the edge in line with the side of the stitch plate. Sew. The tuck is then pressed to one side. For best results, use the optional blind hem foot. The blind hem foot has an adjustable flange in which your folded fabric rides against a guide. The 2-thread wide overlock stitch serges a lightweight seam. Consult the sewing advisor. Touch the Stitch Selection button to find 2-thread wide overlock stitch. Then, select a fabric type like woven medium. The sewing advisor then suggests a stitch length of 3.0. The differential feed at N or normal. Stitch finger setting says N or normal. Simply push the stitch finger lever back to replace the wide stitch finger. Remove the right or D needle and insert the left or C needle. Stitch or cutting width is N or normal. And your tension should be set at 1 for upper looper and 5 for lower looper. Now serge the 2-thread overlock stitch along the folded edge of your fabric. As you can see, a 2-thread overlock stitch has small V's on the underside for a nice light finish. Let's learn more about the manual and memory modes of your Husqvarna Huskylock Model 910 by setting up your serger to sew a popular edging, a mock blanket stitch. Use your sewing advisor to select a 2-thread wide overlock stitch. Now choose Knit Heavy for your fabric. To alter your settings, you need to be in the manual mode. Touch the cursor or arrow button to enter the manual mode. You'll see your fabric and stitch selection remain the same. The changeable number is blinking. For this technique, you need to lengthen your stitch to 5.0. To change the stitch length setting, use the plus or minus buttons to find your desired setting. To advance to the next setting, differential feed, touch the cursor or arrow button. Again, the changeable setting is blinking. Scroll through the different settings using the plus or minus button. You'll notice the settings change in single increments. This wide range of differential feed settings allows you to perfectly serge an array of fabric weights and types. For this technique, change your differential feed to 1.5. Moving forward, touch the cursor or arrow button to the next setting, stitch finger. Use the plus or minus buttons to adjust your setting if necessary. The blanket stitch requires your stitch finger to be at N or normal. To advance again, touch the cursor or arrow key for adjusting your needle setting. Depending upon your desired stitch width, select the right or left needle. For this technique, change your setting to the C or left needle. Your stitch or cutting width should be set at the widest or 7.0. And then your tensions. Again, the changeable setting is blinking. The cursor advances to one tension at a time, left to right. Use the plus or minus buttons to scroll through the settings and make your adjustments. As you move forward touching the cursor or arrow button, you jump from left needle to lower looper. Remember, you selected a wide 2-thread overlock stitch for this particular technique. This stitch requires only the 2 tensions. 0 for the left needle and 6 for the lower looper. Place a strip of water-soluble stabilizer on top of your fabric. Sew, catching the stabilizer in your stitch. Pull the stabilizer to the underside of your fabric to reveal a mock blanket stitch. Determine if you like the settings. With perfect results and all your adjustments in place, save your new program into one of the empty memories. To do this, simply touch the M or memory button. If the memory is already used, the memory number will blink and the message "Overwrite OK" also blinks in your LCD window. This means your new program will delete anything you had in this memory. If this is the case, simply touch the M or the memory button. If you do not want to overwrite or delete what's stored in this memory, press the plus button to advance to an empty memory. If the blinking memory is empty, a memory empty message will appear. Memories are created and filled sequentially. Once a memory is created, it will remain in your serger. In other words, if you created only 5 memories and then deleted one of the 5, you will not be able to create a 6th memory until all 5 are filled. Once you discover an empty memory, the message "Memory Empty" will flash in your Sewing Advisor window. Again, if this is the memory you wish to store your new setting in, touch the M or Memory button. The memory number will blink several times. Once it stops, your settings have been saved. Or perhaps you decide you do not want to save this new program. To exit the memory mode, simply touch A or Auto. You're now back in the Auto mode, where you can select from the 11 pre-programmed stitches. Your memories are permanent, storing your settings even after the machine is turned off. To retrieve a memory, touch the M or Memory button. The last memory you used will appear with any settings you may have previously saved. Select the memory you want by touching the plus or minus buttons. Only memories with previously saved settings will appear. If you mistakenly touch the cursor or arrow button and the manual mode appears while searching for a memory, simply touch A to return to the auto mode and begin again by touching M or Memory. To empty a memory, select the memory you wish to delete by pressing the plus or minus buttons. Then simultaneously press the Stitch and Fabric Selection buttons. The message "Memory will clear" now blinks in your Sewing Advisor's LCD window. If you decide not to delete the memory, just release both buttons. To empty the memory, touch the M or Memory button while you continue to hold the Stitch program and the Fabric Selection buttons. Memory Empty appears, and the deletion is complete. Press the A or Auto button for standard settings. For peak performance for years to come, care for your Husqvarna Husky lock like you would any piece of fine machinery. Always turn your machine off before performing any type of maintenance. Change needles often. Invisible burrs on needles affect the quality of your sewing. Often, a new needle is the answer to a number of questions. Use your lint brush to clean dust out of the inside of your machine after completing a project. Here you'll want to disengage the cutter. To do this, first remove the flatbed cover. Next, place your hand underneath the free arm cover and pull in the direction of the arrow. This will expose the upper cutter knob. To disengage, push the knob in and roll it downward until it's in its lowest position. The upper cutter is sharp, so care should be taken when moving this part. Never sew with the cutter disengaged. Be sure to put the cutter back up before sewing. To ensure the continued smooth and quiet operation of your Husky lock, some of the moving parts must be lubricated with sewing machine oil. If you regularly use your machine, oil it once a month. Frequent users should oil the machine once a week. Always run fabric through your machine to remove all excess oil before starting a new project.